Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Paul, and in this short Gaming.com video we're going to be tackling and analysing tech news which, as usual, has popped up over the past 24 or so hours. We're going to be starting things out with graphics cards, specifically the fact that prices are set to rise for the first quarter of this year. Then we're going to be moving on to Xbox One exclusive games. That's right, we have insight now into what the exclusive games are going to be for the Xbox One platform thanks to a leak. And then we're going to discuss AMD's Pinnacle Ridge, specifically the launch date as well as a few other details. But as I said, first things first, we'll start with the good news. Graphics card price rises. Wait, that's not good news. And indeed, it seems to be the state of affairs recently, and it's probably because of bill of material increases. So how much more are we going to be coughing up for graphics cards? Predominantly, it looks to be affecting the mid to high range cards. So if you are thinking of buying that GTX 1080, well, now's the time to do it, because the prices will rise. Not hugely, but obviously it does depend upon the card, but it's going to be between $5 and $20 US. And according to DigiTimes of Taiwan, it appears that this is because of increasing product costs caused by tight supply of memory devices and GPUs. So we know the usual suspects to blame here. In other words, it is of course low volumes of memory production, well, not low volumes, but just insufficient volumes of memory production because of all the usage cases of memory, as we've discussed dozens of times by now, and also the simple fact that GPUs are in high demand, not just for cryptocurrencies, but, well, let's just be honest, over the past several months we've seen the adoption of a lot of high-range graphics cards, especially with games such as PUBG. And obviously with the holidays that have just gone by, I mean, lots of people buy graphics cards and so on for Christmas. Well, let's just face it, it obviously is going to be an expensive time of it. So now on to some Xbox One news. And this, of course, is not verified by Microsoft, so if all of this turns out to be complete and utter rubbish, don't blame me. So Phil Spencer of the Xbox division has stated multiple times that there were exclusive games coming to the Xbox One X that had not been announced, and the reason they hadn't been announced was quite simple. They just felt it was too early to announce the games. They didn't want to build up the hype, and they didn't want another game that was, you know, just didn't see the light of day ever, or just was announced too early. Two examples of that, of course, might be Crackdown 3 and also Scalebound, one of which has taken forever to be released, and the other one, of course, was cancelled. A user on Reset Era, his name is Clobril. I've put a link to his info in the description of the video, said he had access to internal systems where entire project entries were stored, and this is in relation to the Xbox Live API SDK. So he starts with, I was awake the entire night for this lol. I see access to some login entry database tables via Xbox One API SDK is still possible. That's insane. Sea of Thieves and Crackdown 3 Arena betas have a lot of entries. Suggest these are coming soon. There is so much more, but I don't want to risk myself. And he seemed rather disinclined to acquiesce to our request to provide further information. So instead he decided to do it in a wish list. You could make of this as you will. Once again, I'm not saying that this is accurate, but I'm going to read it out verbatim. I would love to revisit Albion. Project name could be Wisdom. A UK studio should do it. I would love to play around again with Miss Dark. The Coalition should definitely help if it's a third-person game. I mean, not them alone, obviously. You could obviously see where he's going with this, and please be another Perfect Dark, please. I loved Perfect Dark Zero on the Xbox 360. I spent so long on that game. I would love to play Crackdown 3 campaign in 4-player co-op. I would also like to play Forza with the rising sun on the horizon. I would like to play AoE 4 soon, but probably super early. But it's probably super early. I would love to have a high player count connections per session for Xbox's biggest franchise. And I'm sure Phil likes mechs. Ew. But I doubt I get anything for Conquer, Banjos, or Crimson Skies in the foreseeable future. Make of that as you want. I don't know what it is. Just a prototype. So it looks like we're going to be seeing another Forza Horizon. Crackdown 3 appears to have 4-player co-op, which still means I'm not that interested in the game. Sorry if that upsets people, just not. Albion, well, it doesn't take a genius to figure that out, and also it was pretty obvious it was coming. And the surprise one to me was Perfect Dark, but again, Perfect Dark, please, like seriously, please give it to me now. But anyway, let's finish the video on processor news. No, not that processor news, but instead Pinnacle Ridge. If you want news on the Intel CPU vulnerability, that's a separate video that will be uploaded today. So AMD's Ryzen Pinnacle Ridge processors are set to launch in March, and this is according to the website Hermitage Akihabara, and it tells us that they will also be launching alongside the 400 series chipset. Now, how do we get this information, or how does Hermitage get this information? Well, it's citing retailers in Japan who are citing upstream suppliers who are expecting the Ryzen 2000 series, or Ryzen 2, to hit in March, along with 2 chipset models. The first is the X470. Can you guess what the second one is? Yep, that's right, you guessed it, the B450. So this means that the earlier report of February, it was inaccurate, or it was originally going to be February and then it slipped. Your guess is as good as mine. Just a quick reminder for everyone, there are a couple of subtle differences between this generation that is currently available and the future generation. When it comes to the chipsets, they are differentiated from the 300 series counterparts by the ability to feature PCI Express Generation 3.0 in general purpose lanes. Meanwhile, Pinnacle Ridge is going to be based upon the 12nm fabrication process. What does that mean? Well, in theory, we should see a modest clock speed increase. We're not going to be seeing 50% clock speed increase, just to clarify, but don't be surprised if you see 10, 15-ish%, and that should be very interesting indeed, because on top of that, Pinnacle Ridge processors will indeed inhabit current AM4 motherboards just fine. So, for example, if you've bought an MSI or an Asus or whatever board, and you're quite happy with it, let's say for the sake of argument of this video, you've bought a Ryzen 5, and perhaps you'd want just those few extra sweet processor cores of a Ryzen 7, well, by golly gosh, if you've got a good deal on a Pinnacle Ridge processor, and perhaps as well you want the additional clock speed as well, you should be able to do it. Obviously, do make sure that you have updated your BIOS, because most likely you may have a couple of issues otherwise. And furthermore, the motherboards themselves, from the information we're hearing, will have out-of-the-box support for Raven Ridge, but if you have a 300 series chipset motherboard, well, that will require a BIOS update, which could be a bit sticky if, for example, you buy a 300 series motherboard off, say, eBay, and it has an older BIOS and you don't have any other processor to put in it to do the BIOS flash. That obviously could be a bit of an issue. But with all of that said, that's not too bad. And one bonus thing that has not been, certainly not an official rumour, if a rumour can be official, but I wouldn't be surprised if we see a couple of other small tweaks on the architecture. Once again, just to reiterate, one of those tweaks that I'm expecting will be a slight reduction in latency in the caches, which is something we've seen in Threadripper. Whether that's going to trickle down to Ryzen, who knows. And speaking of Threadripper, for those wondering what's going to happen if you're going to be able to pick up, say, a 29550 or whatever, probably not for the short term. Obviously, it looks like AMD are just trying to get the originals out of the door, sorry, the mainstream models out of the door, and then after that we can go from there. With all of that said, hopefully you have enjoyed the video. Take care of yourselves. Bye for now.